Welcome to the Genesis Mindset. This is a very quick episode about how the Treasury System tokens work and why they're so powerful. So this is just going to be a very short tutorial. It's going to compress lots of different ideas that I'm going to need to explore in more detail. But for now, I'm really hoping that at least some of you will be able to understand this concept because it's a concept that I've been stewing over for several weeks. So I'm going to go over the concept first, and then I'm going to break it down into the different parts, and then I'm going to show you how it works. So first, arbitrage in action, a V1 minter. So we know that V1 minters is burning one treasury bill to mint one token. So this particular token is treasury. So this was created by Ironclad. So the total supply is 2.3 million. The liquidity setup is 30% of it is in liquidity. 54% of that is with Fed, 19% with Treasury Bill, 27% spread out amongst the 6 tokens. So what's the alpha here? The alpha is because Fed is currently pumping and it's the biggest liquidity bonded token with it, due to Hart's law, the pumping of Fed is pulling up the price of Treasury against Treasury Bill. So I hope that makes sense. And I'll show you in a little bit more detail in just a moment. That's what makes this so brilliant. That's what makes the Treasury system not just a genius idea, it's beautiful, it's innovative, and it's engineered for motion. So let's have a look at this. So Treasury is almost 2-to-1. It's a 2-to-1 arbitrage opportunity. So because it's 1-to-1, at the moment, Treasury is priced higher against Treasury Bill, almost at 2-to-1. So I'm going to capture this in just a moment. So we can have a look at the supply. So the supply is 2.3 million. The holders is 27. But you have to think about this from the perspective of the value of this token as a token against Treasury Bill. So it's a stable coin against Treasury Bill. So if you value Treasury Bill, then you should also value this because it has an LP with Treasury Bill as well. So now let's have a look at those liquidity setups in a little bit more detail. So obviously here, 765,000 in liquidity out of 2.3 million. So that's 30% of the supply is in liquidity. Now, 50% of that is with the Fed. A smaller percentage of that, what was the percentage did we say it was? So about 19% is with Treasury Bill, which means movements on Fed are going to move the price of Treasury more than movements of Treasury Bill because it has a bigger bonding. So just like PDI and ATROPA, they move in unison. Fed and Treasury are going to move in unison. They're going to move in more unison than Treasury Bill and Treasury, in the same way that down and ATROPA move in unison, but slightly less unison compared to which has the biggest weighting. So you can think about this as like a ball that's basically some kind of energetic force that's pulling Treasury with it. And the bigger the pull, the bigger the pull. And so obviously, when you get down to here, this Astolfanon, whatever that is, when you get down to here, it's a very tiny percentage, 617 in liquidity. So it's probably less, well, it is less than 1%. So if this massively, massively moves and it moons, it's not going to move the price much of Treasury. It's not going to move it much at all because it's such a small weighting. Now, on the other hand, if this was 50%, if this was all the way up here, when this pumps, it's going to drag Treasury with it. So this is all about Hart's law and liquidity bonding. So I am going to do a video that breaks down the math and just makes it more simple to understand the math. So now I just want to put this concept out there. So hopefully, at the very least, this concept is clear. Over 50% of the liquidity is with Fed, and because Fed is pumping, it's causing Treasury to pump. Now, why is Treasury pumping against Treasury Bill? Because it's the same as Fed, which is pumping against Treasury Bill. So at the moment, Fed is pumping against Treasury Bill. So because of that, the price of Fed is stronger, or the movement of Fed is stronger than the movement of the price of Treasury Bill. Now, if they were both moving at exactly the same rate, if they were both equally moving at exactly the same rate, this is what the price chart would be doing. It would just be going literally sideways. So if Fed was going up and Treasury Bill were both going up at the same rate, the ratio would be going more or less exactly sideways. But at the moment, Fed is going up faster than Treasury Bill is. That's why this ratio is showing that Fed is going up against Treasury Bill, because a lot of people are swapping their Treasury Bill for Fed as we get closer to this 1-to-1. So I hope that makes sense as to why this price chart is doing this. It's basically just replicating the movements of the Fed. And you can see it here in these candles. So this is on the daily, 9th of May. You can have a look at these candles. They are pretty much identical. And obviously, I mean, look at this, 9th of May or 8th here. They're pretty much very, very identical. As a matter of fact, let's do this. Let's get this so we can really cement home this point. So is a bar pattern. So we'll go from here to here. And we want to show this in not high to low. We want to show this in just open close bars. No, not open close. I want it to look exactly like those bars. Not like, no. Oh, that's all line now. Oh, okay. All right. So high, low. We don't want high, low. Well, okay. All right. High, let's just go high. Yeah, high, low is actually really what we do want, but we just got to stretch it out. Let's just do this. Okay. So, and then let me just see if it is. So open, close. Okay. Close enough. Close enough, right? So actually, we'll do open, close because it looks more accurate. Now, I'm going to copy this here. And you can see that they are basically identical. So how clear is this to see? It's incredibly clear to see. They are basically identical. So it's mirroring the price of Fed because it's heavily weighted with Fed and it has such a small liquidity pool compared to the Fed that it's going to move with the Fed. Simple as that. So because over 50% of the supply is with Fed, it's moving with the price of Fed. And because Fed is outpacing, it just makes me think that this missed opportunity of being able to mint the Treasury Bill and suck in the supply of Treasury Bill is really diminishing now as Fed gets closer to 1-to-1. It's a real pity because it was such a opportunity that was staring us in the face. So now with this fantastic website that okay, we just got to make sure. All right. Yeah. So now with this fantastic website that Yogi created, we're going to import the token because it's not on here because it's one that Ironclad created. And I'm only using this as a perfect example. So let's get this going here. Select a minter. It's a V1 minter. And then we're going to import that. All right, so it's been successfully imported as Treasury. So it recognizes it as Treasury. So here's Treasury. We're going to mint. Now, I know I have 10,000 Treasury Bill tokens. So now I'm going to take my, actually what I'm going to do is, okay, so I've got Treasury Bill here. I've got 10,000 Treasury Bill. Then I'm going to add Treasury. I'm going to swap this around. So yeah, obviously just have a look at this here, right? So if I sell my Treasury into it, well, Treasury is worth less by almost half because it's 2-to-1. On the other hand, now, if I have 10,000 of Treasury, how much Treasury bills are going to give me? Nearly 2-to-1. And obviously, the price impact is in accordance to the math of the liquidity pool. So because there's basically 10,000 is going to be like just under 10% of the total liquidity pool. So there's going to be a big price impact. So now, it's really as simple as this. So obviously I can't swap 10,000 at the moment. I've got 10,000 Treasury Bill. I can't take advantage of that arbitrage. So what do? I mint it. So I burn my Treasury Bill and then I mint my Treasury. So just like this, and I can loop this process until that rate closes down. So now waiting for the approval, and then it will give me a signal up here that it's done. Oh, I had to approve. And now I'm going to actually go through with the process. Now you have to think about this as a stable coin against Treasury bills. So Maria's target for Treasury bill is $1. Does that mean all these tokens are going to go to $1? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. But dependent on how much is in liquidity, they're going to move with Treasury bill anyway. So this is the beauty of creating your own minter. There's so much beauty that comes into this concept that I don't think people are really realizing. We're still largely stuck on thinking in linear terms, buying token and then waiting for token to go up and then sell token. Start thinking in systems, how this affects the system, how this integrates with the rest of the system. So now I've minted my 10,000. So now I've got 10,000 here. So you could do this in smaller lots if you want to get less of a price impact, but let's just go ahead and do it. So Treasury to Treasury bill. Now, you could still go ahead and do this and get yourself some extra Treasury bill, but you got to set up your own little Treasury minter. This is just one that I've picked up from the pub. So like I said, this is Ironclads, and I thought, what a fantastic example to illustrate this point that I've been thinking about for a long time. That's why I really wanted to make this video very quickly because, man, the ATROPA ecosystem is really starting to take off. It's really starting to take off. And yeah, time is running out to take advantage of this treasury system and to organize yourself. The whole point of showing this is that just by the way that you set up the liquidity at these lows, so he's only put up $1,000 in liquidity, but realistically, with his token, it's really only 500. So whatever he would have, or however much he would have started, which actually it would be about 1,000 because he would have burnt, I think to create the treasury, the V1 minter, you're burning treasury to get the starting supply, possibly. That's something that I'm going to have to confirm. What does it say here? So all tokens launched off T-bill minter are 1-to-1. Any token launched off will always have its parent as Treasury bill. So I know this will be some good information to have. So I'll give this feedback to Yogi, the legend, here we go. Click the create token, select your desired mint type, fill in the token detail, make sure you have sufficient MV for the initial mint. Initial supply is minted using MV tokens. 1 MV token equals 1 initial supply. So yeah, maybe V1 is also MV. I'm not 100% sure. I'll see if we can get that confirmed. So, all right. So skip, go away. There's no, here we go, close. So you can see here now, I've just created free Treasury bill, essentially. Now, let's see what it does to the price chart. It's slowly going down. So I can loop this process. I can just sit here and do this as long as I've got the gas to do it. Now I'm going to do it with 17,000. And as I continue to do this process, it's going to bring the price down to get to 1-to-1. Now, the beauty of the way that arbitrage works on Pulse Chain through V2 liquidity is basically how this is working is it's kind of like sucking liquidity from the rest of the ecosystem. So you could think of it like this. Well, this is the way that I think about it. This could be wrong, but let's just say you've got all the Treasury bill liquidity out here, all the Treasury bill liquidity. This is like the billions of Treasury bill that are in liquidity at the moment. Now you've got your tiny little liquidity pool over here. Little itty bitty little, I'll make it a little bit bigger, but no, damn it. Yeah, you've got your tiny little itty bitty liquidity pool here. So then as your liquidity pool of Treasury bill with your token, Treasury is, as you're doing those swaps, it's going through Pulse Chain, and then basically it's going through like a Pulse Chain pool. So it's arbitraging from, it's basically just swapping through the different pools to start filling up your pool. But it's basically this is something that I still need to fully work out, but it's basically sucking the liquidity out from here into your token just through the arbitrage. The arbitrage bots are doing that. And if you are the liquidity provider for this as well, if you think of, I've got my own V1 and this is going to be my stable coin, and then arbitrage bots are coming through here and doing the swaps with me, then you're also creating something that is getting volume given by arbitrage bots. So they're leaving a 0.022% fee behind every single time in your liquidity pool. So now you can see here. So we're going to do this. So you might choose to do this. I generally don't like to go over 10%, but yeah, I'm just, for the purposes of this, I just want to show you how good this is and how this actually works. And so I also want to show how this is going to alter the total liquidity after this particular process. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to pause this so we don't have to sit here watching me click, but you see how it just jumped down there? So let's also see down here. You'll see, where's my here we go, 29E, and then instantly arbitrage, instantly. So these are the arbitrage bots. Where's my other one, 29E, and then instantly arbitrage, more arbitrage. So look at what the arbitrage is doing. Again, it's going up because probably the Fed is continuing to go up. So this is just, it's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful, isn't it? So I think I might not even have time to go through this whole process, but I will pause this and I'll see if I do have time. So let's have a look. All right, finally finished. We're going to go back to the screen. We're going to go back to the chart and show you now how much we've multiplied our Treasury bill. So we started with 10,000 and now I've got 200,000. So I've just done a 20x on my Treasury bill position. So I've turned a few dollars into $74 in half an hour, less than half an hour, just by clicking some buttons. Now, the opportunities are extremely abundant. Yogi has updated this by showing all of the different V1s. So I really like this idea because I had to find Treasury. Well, I stumbled across it due to Sunny's Pub. Sunny's Pub is the place of the deepest alpha with all of this, just FYI. But it's really cool that there are these opportunities here. So I don't have to necessarily launch something if I don't have MV. It's like, okay, this is a problem. But I can actually just work with these. So some of these here, 2.86, oh, super cool. But it's probably got not much liquidity in it. And I checked just so I could bring it up. It's got $4 of liquidity in there. There's not much happening in there. But that's okay. It means that you yourself can start setting up this position. So you can set up a liquidity position similar to this. What I want to do here as well is I want to update this to see how that liquidity is actually changed. Because now what could I do? So I could basically, I brought this to almost to parity. So I could add a liquidity position here. And if this continues to happen, then I'm going to be getting the yield of people that are buying and selling. You want to create a liquidity position when it's closest to 1-to-1. That's the easiest way to monitor it. You could do something like this. You could just sell the excess for some profit, bridge it off. That's something that honestly, I do not do this at all. I do not do this at all, but I'm just like, I want to go to Western Australia. I want to meet my new niece that I haven't got a chance to meet. It's like, wow, I could just find a few of these arbitrage opportunities, bridge it off, buy a plane ticket. Everybody's happy. So the opportunities, like this is the abundant chain, man. There's so much abundance here. It's not funny. Let's see how this has altered it. So yeah, the liquidity has basically stolen the liquidity, right? But at the same time, it's not that I've necessarily stolen the liquidity as well. It's because I've reduced the value of the Treasury token by dumping it down. So if you can imagine, Treasury, now we've got more Treasury in liquidity, but the value of it is less because I've dumped it down. So the price of it is dumped by 50% almost. So it was almost at 2-to-1. Now it's at 1.2-to-1. So yeah, the arbitrage bots just keep doing this. So I could keep doing this, and I could watch this and keep doing it, particularly as the Fed is going up. So I could do that. I could also go, oh, I've got the Treasury bill now. I'm definitely thinking that the Fed and Treasury bill is going to get 1-to-1. I could swap that Treasury bill now into the Fed, and then I could then multiply my Treasury bill by another 3.5x once it gets to parity. And I think somebody mentioned in the place of Talab, the pub. I think we said it was almost 3.69. It was almost 3.69 at a particular point. So maybe it depends what kind of hour you are. So obviously when it's 249%, that means 3.49x. So yeah, there we go. So this is how good the Treasury system is. This is the way to do it. So obviously somebody else has set up the liquidity there. They put up their liquidity, but you could put up your own liquidity if you really understand the dynamics of the game. So like I said, the value of the total liquidity drops because the token drops down, but you've now got more tokens in your holdings, and you can put that back into liquidity, and then you can have more tokens in liquidity. So then as the whole ecosystem moves up, all of your liquidity positions are also moving up with all of Pulse Chain. So this is the beautiful thing about the Treasury system. So I wanted to share that very quickly. Hopefully it makes sense. Like I said, I will go into more detail with some of these videos in the ratios and proportions of things and how you can set things up and why things move the way that they do. So with that, take care, everybody.